Chapter 38, verse 1. Rashi Vayeishev, it was at that time. Vayered Yehuda Vayeishev, and Judah went down from his brothers. Vayet ad isha du'ami ushmo chira. Okay, so what happened? Right after Joseph was sold to Egypt, basically, by the Midyanim, they sold him to Egypt. It was at that time when Judah went down from his brothers, and he came to the Ish Aduami. Hello, Thera, how you doing?
I'm good.
Yeah, of course. And he came to the Aduama. Hello, Sam Shepsel. You went a little too far. Go a little to the left, my friend.
Down.
So it was at that time, and he went to the Aduamite man whose name was Thera. So let's see what Rashi says. What time is this? Lama nismacha parasha zulakan. Why is this passage placed here? V'ifsiku parasha Torah shel Yosef. Why is this passage of Judah interrupting the story of Joseph? Now, the point is that the narrative of Joseph is interrupted by the story of Judah and Tamar. And Rashi is saying, why does it have to be interrupted? You could have finished the whole story of Joseph going down to Egypt and then come and tell us the story of Judah. Cynical person, which I'm not, might say, well, this is a way of breaking up the narrative. It's a common storyteller motif, right? You don't just tell one story the whole way, you bring different things in. But Rashi gives us a different explanation. Rashi says, Lamed is to teach us, Shehoridu Achiv Migdu Asa, that Joseph's brothers brought him down from his greatness. Kishara'u b'tzaras avihem, when they saw the distress of their father. They said to him, Ata amarto machro. They said, you said to sell him. Ilu amarto ashivo ayinu shomim lach. If you had said you're going to return him, we would have listened to you. So basically, Judah was in trouble. They said, it's all your fault. Vayet, and he turned to an Adulamite man named Chira. Who is this man? Rashi says he turned away from his brothers, Me'esachav. Vayet ad ish Aduami, until an Adulamite man. Rashi says Nishtatef imo, he became a partner with him. So basically, it sounds to me like Judah is branching out from the brothers. He's not sticking around with just his brothers. He's moving on. He's diversifying. He's saying we did something wrong. But that's what it sounds like to me. But it smells. Hold on one second. I just want to make sure nothing's burning. Just give me 1 second. Hold on. Just give me one. Okay, so Baruch Hashem, everything is good. Oh wow, John. John, do me a favor. Can you shut off the warmer and take out the pizza from there? I'm a little worried about it. Thank you for these tahini cookies, John.
They're gluten free.
Why?
Not that much sugar, because that's the flour we had on hand.
Oh, beautiful. That's for bring him home for Abby.
So a lot of stuff.
Okay.
And Lena.
Oh, beautiful. But they can eat sugar.
These are delicious. You
Okay.
wouldn't know what they're any different. John's amazing.
All right. Did you guys hear that? That's going to be recorded for forever on YouTube. Okay. So then it says, and she conceived and she gave birth to Vayarsham Yehuda bat Ish Kenani. And Judah saw that there was a daughter of a Canaanite whose name was the daughter of a Canaanite man whose name was Shua, and he took her.
You want to just off the stadium in there?
Yeah, that'd be good. And he took her, and he was with her. So what does that mean? Rashi says nothing. Kanani. Okay, so Rashi tells us something very powerful. Rashi here does not want to say that he actually married a Canaanite, because we don't want to say that Judah married a Canaanite. He's not supposed to marry a Canaanite. So rather, Rashi tells us that based upon the Gemara in Pesachim, that here it means a Tagara, a merchant. That he married, that Canaanite here does not mean a Canaanite, a person from the tribe of Canaan, it means a merchant. However, there's another opinion which says that it actually means a Canaanite. Well, anyway, so here he says he marries a Canaanite, who's not a Canaanite, but a merchant. He marries the daughter of a merchant. And she gave birth to a son, Er. They called him Er. What does Er mean? Rashi doesn't tell us, but we know Er means like awake. Judah must be, you get the sense that Judah's in a stupor. You ever do something dumb in your life? And then, okay, we do things dumb every hour, every minute. Usually, I'm talking about myself. But you ever do something so dumb that afterwards you're just in a stupor, like you regret so much what you've done. And I get the sense, reading this, that Judah was so upset about his role in the sale of Joseph that he was in this deep depression. That's what it says. He goes down. And now all of a sudden, he's trying to awaken. He has a child. But Tekra Shemo Er. Vatar Od, and she conceived again. She conceived again, Vatikrat Shemo Onan, and she called him Onan. She called him Onan. Now there, we don't know what it means yet. Vatosef Od, and she gives birth to another son, Vatewed Ben, Vatikrat Shemo Shela. And she calls him Shela. And was in Ksiv when she gave birth to him. So the third child was born in Kiziv. Why do we care that it was in Kiziv? Rashi says Shema Makom, the name of the place. Rashi tells us, Va'omer ani al shem shepaska miledet nikra Kiziv. That because she stopped giving birth there, she was called Kasiv. Because the word Achzav means to stop. Otherwise, Rashi says, I don't know. Vimwokin Mabalo Dienu. I don't know why it needs to tell us there.
The literal word in Arabic, wadi, means a river that's only filled during the winter, not during the summer. So it's Nahal Kaziv is like like you said, from the word kazav, which means a lie. So it's
okay.
Like
so
a
it
river,
only
but
fills
it's not.
certain times of the year.
Yeah.
So okay. So now verse 6. Vayikach Yehuda isha er bechoro ushma Tamar. Yehuda takes a wife for Er, his firstborn son, and her name is Tamar. Tamar to mean like a palm tree, dates. He Er bechor Yehuda Rabbeinu Hashem vaymiteu Hashem. And Er, his firstborn son of Judah, did something bad in the eyes of God, and God caused him to die. What did he do? So Rashi tells us, Kira'ato shel Onan, like the bad thing that Onan did. Well, we know what Onan did. What did Onan do? Mashchit zaro. Onan was destroying his seed. As it states, Shenemar ba'Onan vayamat gam oto, which means that Onan also died. means he died kamitato shel Er, that Onan died like the same way in which Er died. V'lama haya Er mashrit zaro. So what was Er's sin? Er was intentionally spilling his seed on the ground, because that's what Onan did. Now we know why Onan did it. I'll foreshadow the rest of the chapter, because Onan did not want to make his brother's widow pregnant, because he anticipated that the child would not be attributed to him. So he was doing it in a spiteful. But why would Er not want to make his wife pregnant? He didn't want her to become pregnant and thereby spoil her beauty. He liked her to be without child. So for that reason, he was spilling his seed. And that was considered to be an offense punishable by death. God punished him to death. Just want to say that that's very clear. That if you don't want to become pregnant because you so much value your body, the Rashi is saying that that's a sin. I'm meaning to say, it's not a sin to say that that you want to make your body look good. It's a sin to say, I'm not going to allow my wife to become pregnant because that way she won't be, in Er's words, beautiful anymore. Rashi says that that's a sin. Vayomer Yehuda LaOnan, and Judah says to Onan, go to your brother's wife and do levirate marriage with her. And uphold the seed of your brother. Now this is well before the Torah tells us about the mitzvah of Yibum. So we see that Yibum must have been an ancient practice, because we have no mention of it amongst any of the other patriarchs before this. So this is the first time it's appearing amongst the seed of Judah. So it's the idea that you have to uphold the seed of your brother. So levirate marriage is where your brother's wife, your brother dies without any children. He has no seed to take over for him. And then the brothers are supposed to marry the widow. The Torah gives us a way out of it called chalitza, where the woman removes the shoe and spits on the floor. But this is not an option yet, according to this Torah. He says, no, you have to marry her and uphold your brother's seed. Rashi says, Habeni karei al shem hames. The son will be called by the name of the dead one. Habeni karei al shem hames. Okay.
Is this the first time the Torah talks about addressing vanity? Like basically this whole thing is saying, don't be consumed by your own personal vanity. Is this the first time that the Torah references that that's not really like something?
Meaning to say, what do you mean by personal vanity?
Like the vanity of not disturbing your body to have a baby. Is this the first time that the Torah says, hey, you shouldn't be vain about your body in any way?
Okay, so I should have been clear. The Rashi is saying that.
The Rashi.
Rashi is saying, the Torah doesn't say it, but Rashi says, it's interesting you pointed out, because Rashi says that was a sin of Joseph. That Joseph, the very first Rashi on the Torah, on the portion. No, before this week's portion, it says, V'hu Na'ar. It says that calls Joseph, it says this is the lineage of Joseph, Jacob. Joseph was 17 years old, and he was a Na'ar. What does it mean he was a Na'ar, Rashi says? He did the actions of Narus. He did the actions associated with youth. He was fixing his hair, grooming his eyes, so that he should look attractive. So there, it's this interesting thing that the sin of Joseph was the same, according to Rashi, as the sin of Judah's son Onan, or Er. So then he says, so what does it mean? He says, do levirate marriage, and then uphold the seed of your brother. Rashi says, Haben yikarei al shem hames. That what this means is that if you have a child with your brother's widow, that child will be called by the name of the deceased, meaning to say, the child will be considered the son of the dead brother. Presumably, that child would inherit the widow, the deceased's property. But Vayeda Onen Kilo Yazara, Onen knew that the seed wouldn't belong to him. Just wondering about this. Presumably, he thought, well, if the widow doesn't have any children, then I'll inherit the property and I'll pass it down to him. What?
It is.
Well, this really is his son. But yeah, they thought it wasn't going to be his son, it was his brother's widow. It's a whole different way of approaching things than we really do today. In fact, today we're not allowed to do yibum. If somebody says, I want to marry my brother's widow if he has no children, we don't allow it. We don't allow it. Already in the time of the Talmud, we said not to do it. So nobody should do that. So in fact, I just want to say one other thing about this. The mitzvah of yibum, of levirate marriage, applies if your brother has no children. But if he has a child, then it's punishable by death for the brother-in-law to marry the widow. Means to say, in all other contexts, it's an erva, it's a prohibited relationship. It's only in this one circumstance that it's a mitzvah. And now, today, we say you're not allowed to do it anymore. Okay, just to be clear. So Onen knew that the seed would not be his. Vayam ba el eshes achiv. So whenever he would be with his brother's wife, v'shirches arza, he would spill a seed on the ground. V'viltin natan zera lachiv. He didn't want to allow his brother to have the seed. Rashi is explicit that he would spill a seed on the ground. He would make believe he wasn't, but then he would spill a seed on the ground. Verse 10. Vayira. No, is that where it is? Vayira be'enei Hashem asher asa. It was bad in the eyes of God that what he did. Vayames gam oso. And he caused him to die. So now Hashem has caused Er to die and Onen to die. Vayomer Yehuda Tamar kalaso. And Judah says to Tamar, his bride, Shvi almana beis avich. He said, stay a widow in your father's home until my son Shelah, my third-born son, will grow older. Because Judah was afraid. He says, I'm worried he's going to die like his brothers. So Tamar went and dwelt in her father's home. Now the Talmud does say that if there's a widow, a woman who has two husbands who die, some say in the Talmud 2 husbands, some say 3 husbands, that they call her a katlanit. Like they had this killer, like a black widow. They're afraid. If they die highly unusual deaths, which what these were. They had 2 young men, and they died. So she was probably taboo or anathema, even though they all misunderstood the situation, that it was because of their sins. So she says, Komar, Dochaya Osobakash, Shawaya Badaitu Asiro. He said he had a pretext. He really had no reason to marry her. Because he was worried. He was worried that this woman was established as a killer wife, that her husbands will die.
You mean incentive, not or intention, not reason.
I'm sorry?
You said that he had no reason to allow her. I think you meant intention.
No, he had no intention.
Right. Yes.
I said he had no incentive. Right. Okay, so now the verse says, this is one of the most significant verses for me in the whole Torah. Vayirbu ayamim, and it was many days. Vatamat bat Shua eshet Yehuda. Judah's wife, who's the daughter of Shua, died. Vayinachem Yehuda. And Judah was comforted. Vayal goes as Eitzono, and he went up to shear his sheep. Hu v'chira re'ehu, adu amitim nata. He went up with Chira, his friend, the Adulamite, to Timnah. So, what does it mean he went up to Timnah? B'Shimshon Omer, by Samson it says, Vayered Shimshon Timnata. Samson went down to Timnata. So, where is Timnah? B'Shipua Har Sheva. Timnah was on the side of a mountain. Ola Mikan v'Yord Ola Mikan, depending where you go. But this verse has something that appears for the first time in the Torah. Does anybody know what it is? No.
Or friendship.
First time the friendship appears in the whole Torah. First time you have a friend, and who is the friend? The friend is an Adulamite. Chiro the Adulamite.
Is it the same Adulam from the book of Samuel? Isn't that one of the places that David hid?
I don't remember. You can look it up and tell me. So Judah was mourning again. Here he's mourning his wife. And he went up to shear his sheep. Okay. By Yugadol Tamar more, and behold, it was said to Tamar, behold, your father-in-law has gone up to Timnah, but goes to shear his sheep. Vatasar b'dei almanusa. So now Tamar has agency. She removes her widowed garments. She removes the widowed garments from above her. Vatechas patseif. She covered herself with a veil. Vatisalaf. And she wrapped herself. Vateshev bepesach einayim asher al derech Timnah. She sat at the crossroads on the path to Timnah. Ki ra'asa ki gadol Shelah. She saw that Shelah had grown older. Vilo nitno lo isha. And she saw that he had not given her to him to be his wife. So Tamar realizes that nobody trusts her. She's being stuck as basically an aguna. And really what she needs is she needs to have a child. Thank you, John. John has made tahini blondies. Cookies. Good. Sorry, John. All right. They're gluten-free. Okay. So let's see what Rashi says. Vatisalof, she wrapped herself. Kista panea, she covered her face. Shelo yakirba, so that Yehuda should not recognize her. Vateshev bepesach einayim, she sat at the crossroads. That expression, by the way, the crossroads, is also an expression that tells us that this chapter is one of the chapters. It's a crossroads for our history. It's a messianic chapter. Well, if we have time to see it, we're not going to finish it today, but it's a messianic chapter. She said at the crossroads on the way to Timnah. Rabbi Seinu Darshu and our rabbis taught that what does this mean? Hello, Josh. You join us. You can have a tahini cookie. And a rabbi said, what does this mean? The Pischo Shel Avram Avinu. She said at the entrance to the tent of her father Abraham, Shekoi Naim Mitzapot Loroto, which all eyes eagerly looked to see. Meaning to say, she went to Abraham's tent. She wanted to marry into the family of Abraham. So she was doing everything right. But Judah, who was the boss, the man who's the future king of Israel, he was seen doing everything wrong. And look at this verse, and you could cry when you read this. Vayirah Yehuda, Judah sees her. Vayachshaveh zona. He assumes she's a harlot. Ki chesta paneh, because her face was covered. How powerful is that? That Judah sees her and considers her a harlot. He doesn't understand this righteous woman because she had covered her face. So Rashi says, she was sitting at the place where people sit at the crossroads because she covered her face. He was unable to see her and to recognize her. And the Midrash tells us that what does it mean? Ki chista paneh kishaisa bebeis chamia, means she was always modest. Aisa tsanua, she was always modest. Lefikach lo chashada. Therefore, Yehuda did not suspect Tamar of being the harlot. So this is the very, very powerful chapter that we're getting the introduction about how Judah misjudges her, and as a result, he makes these accusations to her. Yeah, we'll stop, but Jerry has a question first.